Someone else in this world has to know how the greatest TV show of all time has to get that joke.
Well, we're live on the Society page. If you want to check Oak Barrel.
I will jump in there. I can see you live on Society. Ooh, it looks like we're live on Oak Barrel.
And we're live on YouTube as well.
Happy days. What a time to be live.
So we're streaming to 5 different places right now. Isn't that exciting?
What a wonderful world.
Hey, did you ever think that to yourself?
I'm just going to leave you to sing that, mate.
30 seconds.
Gentlemen, welcome. We're live. For those who are watching along, you get to watch Whisky Roundtable back again. You'll see on the title it says Whisky Roundtable 14. For those of you who can see it, I don't know that's the 14th one.
I thought it was 15.
You just made up a number?
Well, because I remember the 10th one was about 4 ago, but it may have been about 6 ago. So I don't know. So I'm going to go
start doing it with code. Just do like 00664123.
Yeah.
See if people
we're doing batch codes on the bottles of
batch codes. This is batch number 14. Better than batch 15, I've heard.
And 16 is going to suck.
Wait, isn't that your one?
Oh, yeah.
Is that your September one that you're telling us about? There you go.
No, I've got one in between that.
Okay.
G'day, everyone, by the way.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, everyone.
And you're in charge. Do a proper intro.
Yeah, okay. Well, fine. We'll do an introduction. Alex, tell us who you are.
I'm Alex, and I like beards. No.
Okay. G'day, everyone. Welcome to the Whisky Roundtable. My name is Scott Fitzsimons, and tonight we've got a very special guest with us. We've got the 4 usual idiots, but someone who is going to tell us all about the better side of distilling and from a different angle of whiskey. Tonight we're split a little bit all over the place. We've done in venue, we've done it in store and that sort of thing. You might notice that Milne is the only one, technically, or apart from Bailey potentially, but Milne is in office tonight. It's a pleasure for us to have you all with us tonight. And I'm going to throw to what is on my screen, my left. It might be your right. I'm not too sure. Matt Bailey, how you doing?
Good, mate. How are you? Good. I'm glad to be back. Glad to be back virtual. I mean, it was nice doing it in person, but it's also good to do it virtual and all that kind of stuff.
And I think we missed last week because we were all out getting drunk, right?
Yeah, we're all out.
Yeah.
No, never done that. My mom's watching this. Come on. I drink responsibly at all times, and it's a hot toddy and then a tea before bed. That's it.
Oh,
good for the health.
Yeah, exactly.
A few hot toddies will do the job.
It's a big jug. It's a vase, but it's
it's still a vessel. You'll be fine.
Incredibly special guest, globe trotting up until 2020, state hopping up until 2020, distiller extraordinaire, skills that I did not know about until 2020 was also excellent dancer.
That should just be stated straight off.
Yeah, but
precedes all my accomplishments.
Yeah.
Friend of the stream, and thank you, Alex, for organising this tonight. But Lisa Truscott, distiller extraordinaire at Archie Rose. A round of applause. Well, g'day, and how are you?
Good. Thanks for inviting me. I'm excited to finally drink on camera with you guys. Normally I just do it by myself and pick my nose in my PJs, that kind of stuff. Great.
We definitely had a few tequilas last night, and I definitely felt it this morning. Thanks, Lisa.
I mean, again, it's good for you, right? It's all moderation.
Yeah. It's a thing. It's an absolute thing. We're doing Taco Tequila Tuesdays every second Tuesday.
That's so good.
PS40?
Yeah, we did the PS40. We've done a few other venues. Got the next one lined up. I just found it today. But yeah, it's just having a night off whiskey for a few of us. So
it's like your definition of having a night off whiskey is having a night on tequila instead.
It's the
yeah,
agave is the healthy
my
choice.
Tequila's my bad girl spirit. So yeah, we had a bit of fun last night, right?
And tequila's the one thing I've never made, actually.
Ooh.
Made everything else.
Early on in
with the one thing, I was like, Jesus, like how many things have you made?
Is this the moment where we talk about you and your flexes? So we're sitting at Baxter's last night. We were with Ross, Lisa, and I, Ross Blaney from Balvenie, if he actually ever watches one of these streams. Hi, mate. So I'm sitting there giving him shit, going, "Oh man, how many Balvenie SKUs have you got?" And he's like, "Oh, mate, there's only 3 on that board. What are you doing?" And he's like, "Oh, but there's heaps on the back bar." And Lisa's like, "Yeah, well, I've made 3 whiskeys on that back bar." And I was just like, what a flex. This is amazing. We were so excited. Just a bit of background. I have been fangirling over Lisa for a very, very long time. I saw her at a Women in Distilling event at barbershop that was put together with Nip of Courage, and was just like, who the hell is this blue-haired girl? I'm in love. And I have been fangirling on her Insta for so long. I think you're Lisa the Distiller.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, fantastic. I absolutely adore all of your early morning soaking wet boots from mashing in, and you've really kind of you've kind of shown the lifestyle of a distiller on your Instagram. I think it's fantastic. So I'm very excited to have you here tonight. A little bit fangirl here.
I think what you see on my Instagram is something that the marketeers can't get to. So it's the real raw form of it.
Yeah. Well and truly. So tell me, how did you get into distilling?
It's a journey that's taken me a little while. I've actively been working in distillery for about 6 years, but it was a little bit before that. I was actually working in a restaurant, and I saw on the back bar there was a white whiskey, and it really blew my mind. I still to this day have such a special place for the Hudson Corn, which is what it was. And I was writing the lists for the wine and the spirits. So I was doing a lot of research, and the more that I would research it, the more that I just would fall in love with it and just be so fascinated about how much there was. I got to a point where I was like, I want to make this. So I was living at Perth at the time in WA, and there's 6 years ago, it still wasn't as many distilleries as they are now in Australia. So I really considered moving to go find somewhere, learn and work. And it was just at the time I was pretty lucky that there was a distillery opening up in Perth, which was Whippersnapper Distillery. So they hadn't actually opened up yet. I sent a blind email and heard nothing. So I was about to get in my car and drive around and find a distillery and walk in with a resume. And thankfully at that time they emailed me back. And from there, I actually started off. I sort of did everything. And this is something that I always tell people when they come ask me about it. Do anything you can. I started cleaning toilets. I started working the cellar door. I did anything that I could just to get my foot in the door. And that's how I really kind of got started. And every day that I do it is more that I love it.
And tell me, where's it taken you in the world?
Few places. I've been very, very fortunate that it's really taken me a while. Alex, you've got that hashtag of whiskey took me here. I was thinking about the other day, and the amount of places in the world that I've been is pretty incredible. Through to Scotland, up to West Coast Nyla, up to Orkney, even places that most Scottish people haven't even been to themselves. I've really managed to explore a lot of the world, and especially if it's places that are a little bit more remote. Not people go there unless they're diehard fans.
And that's, you were distilling in all those places?
Not quite. I wish. I'm just an avid nerd when it comes to whiskey distilleries. When I first moved to Scotland, I went to 32 in 3 weeks. So I got pretty excited when I first got there. But when I actually ended up in a job in Scotland, it was in Edinburgh, and I was really surprised. I thought it would be in the middle of nowhere in a country town with nothing around me, and I was very fortunate to actually end up in the city. So I've been able to travel a lot. I've started off in WA, went to Scotland for about 18 months, tried to come a bit closer to the family, so I moved to Tassie, which is not that close to WA, there for about 12 months, and then we've been in Sydney.
I've got a quick question. I want to say a quick g'day to Andrew and Whiskey is My Jam and Prestige Liquids, who are asking how well you are. We encourage a lot of questions from the Oak Barrel and Society stream tonight. But just to go back to something you said at the start here, you're working in a restaurant, writing the menus, and you thought, I want to make this stuff. And this is a conversation we've had between the 4 of us with various other people. What was it that said you that you want to make this stuff? Like, what was it about spirits or, potentially whiskey in particular that said, I want to know that's behind this? Because I drink a lot of whiskey and I work with it all the time, and nothing in my bones says I want to make this stuff because it looks hard and it looks difficult, and I want to avoid difficult, hard things in my life. But what was it that made you switch and go, I want to be part of this DNA?
there's definitely something about my personality that if I like something, I want to explore it to the fullest, and I want to, master it as much as I can. And so the more I would get into it, the more that I was just like, I need to do as much as I can and really kind of bring it back to the raw form. And maybe it's ignorant 6 years ago that I didn't realize how much cleaning I'd have to do, but once I got into it, there's no going back for me.
So distilling is actually professional cleaning. Is that what you're saying?
100%. I'm a glorified janitor. That's all it is.
And we thank you for it.
Your first role was at Whippersnapper, yeah?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It's got to be probably one of the most interesting setup distilleries I've ever had the opportunity to tour. And it was the fact that they were filling, if I recall, at 43%, like they're filling spirit at 43 into wood. Was that something you were involved with?
So it was a pretty odd concept at the time. Now we have a bit more science backing it up. And there was a few different reasons why they did, but sort of a lot of the equipment that they had inherited was from Colorado. And that is what the distiller in Colorado did at the time. And it worked for him. So that's how they went for it. And, it's amazing the spirit that it can produce, especially in such a warm climate. Colorado has a lot more temperature extremes than we do, but it's really worked favorably in the Perth climate.
Quickly, Lisa, Peter Bignell, friend of the stream, friend of the podcast, says g'day. Obviously, he's down in Tasmania, probably hasn't been able to see you for a little while, but says nice to see you again.
Oh, lovely. Yes. No, Pete and I we're probably the closest distilleries together in Tassie, so managed to see him from time to time. Managed to borrow a hammer or two. Yeah.
So what distillery were you in Tasmania?
So I worked for Sullivan's Cove briefly in Tassie, but then actually moved to Redlands / Old Kempton. I was actually there for the name change. So I could technically say I worked for 3 distilleries in Tassie if I really wanted to go on that one, but how far I want to push the resume.
That's what resumes are for. You bend the truth on resumes.
I also speak Spanish. It's fine. Definitely. Just never ask me a question.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Old Kempton is where I was. So based in Kempton in Tasmania.
Yeah, amazing.
Which is actually snowing at the moment, and looks pretty chilly.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And so working outside, you learn to layer up.
It's the real. It's the authentic Scottish experience.
Oh, definitely. But now I've got so much warm clothing that I have no idea what to do with in Sydney.
But there are 2 words beside your name there, Lisa, that are not Tasmanian, and they're not Edinburgh, and they're not Western Australia. How did you find your way to one of the
Sydney?
greatest distilleries in Sydney? I was waiting how to phrase that one, because I know Will might be watching as well. One of the greatest distilleries in the world.
No pressure.
Yeah.
Well, I actually saw Johnny Lou tuned in just a moment ago on the society side. So, Johnny, if you're still watching, g'day, mate. And Dean Jackson, hello as well. He says awesome bunch of legends for a roundtable, he says. So,
and quite a big VIP just coming in. And again, I'm doing that thing that you like all make fun of me about. It was like, yes, that's a Vicky Darlenberg coming in with a hi everyone. So yeah, that's a quick day.
Always good to see you, Vicky. Yes,
friend of the stream.
Friend of the stream.
Hi, Mum.
But Lisa, how did you end up in the greatest city on earth, in Sydney?
Mm-hmm. Well, so I am working for Archie Rose at the moment, and really what I would see from Archie Rose before I had joined in was their sort of drive, their passion, and I would always see that they were doing things right, whether it was from marketing, from spirit, and all sorts of different things. And I realized that's where I wanted to be. If I was in Australia, I wanted to be with someone that I could see that was really looking forward to the future and really being so successful in everything that they tried. So that's why I wanted to put my name with them.
And your history, you actually made gin in Edinburgh, correct?
Gin in Edinburgh, yes.
Yeah. What distillery was that?
I was working for Summerhall Distillery, which mostly is known for Pickering. You can see it a little bit in Australia. They were the first gin distillery in Edinburgh for over 150 years. This was a couple of years ago, but there's a few distilleries that have opened up in Edinburgh city centre. But it was incredible to be with someone that really they I think I've been very lucky to work with very innovative companies and people that would see what they wanted to do and actually make it done and achieve it. So yeah, they're wonderful people. I couldn't speak any more highly of Pickering's Gin. If you're ever sort of around Clarence Street, you can find a couple of bottles floating around there.
Very cool.
I've never even heard of it. Sorry.
Oh, I've had it.
That's not nice.
A little bit further away from Sydney, almost the other side of the world.
I've never heard of it. I've never heard of Pickering's Gin. I'm sorry.
It's not coloured or chucked in a cask. He doesn't care, does he? You know,
Come on.
you'll find it in one of his cocktail making sessions soon. Don't worry.
I will. You know.
I know we haven't gone around the grounds tonight yet. Sorry, Lisa.
No, the first one was to Gin Baubles. So Martha Stewart mentioned it, and still pretty proud of that one.
They were crazy. I remember when they first came out in the UK, and everyone was like, "Yeah, this is a bit odd, you know, maybe." And I was working for a retailer. It's like, "Yeah, we'll take some on, give it a go," and they just flew. It just went, and all of a sudden, the next year, it was just like every single brand was just like, "This Christmas, we're doing Baubles." It's like you and every other. It's like, you know, you guys have innovated with gin, and yet every single one of you have just gone, "Yeah, Baubles, that's the winner."
And what a great fit Archie Rose is for you with whiskey and gin. Like you've done it like you just flexed before. You said that agave is the only one you haven't made.
Mm-hmm.
So it sounds like a really good fit. Are you loving it being in Sydney?
I mean, can't really speak for the last few months. It's definitely been not the Sydney life that I expected. But it's coming back, I'm sure. And, you know, it is definitely a hub where there's a lot of passionate people and, you know, like-minded people like yourselves. That is a good group of people. You can definitely say that.
For sure.
I know we haven't gone around the grounds to see what everyone's drinking, but I just want to sort of jump in here quickly because the reason why I'm at home at the moment and not at the Oak Barrel bottle store is because I've actually been off-site the last 2 days judging the Australian Gin Awards. So coming back into town, I sort of thought, how can I blend the fact that I've been living in a pure juniper bubble for the past 48 hours and I can't taste anything else with going onto a whiskey live stream. So I'm actually drinking right now a whiskey barrel-aged gin from Kangaroo Island Spirits. So when the conversation went towards gin, I was like, I should probably slip this in here now. And there's a lot of chat on the Oak Barrel live stream about Peter Bignell's snow. He's lending four-wheel drives to employees to get home at the moment. It's so thick.
Right.
Wow.
And Dave and/or Caroline Taylor's had a little bit in Launceston. I love Tasmania, but right now I like looking at it. I don't need to be there.
Oh, I would give anything to be down there when it snows, making whiskey. Like that just sounds so magical.
Sounds
There was
cold.
one point where I had 11
magical.
blankets. I had 11 blankets on my bed, and I still woke up with frost. So getting out of bed at 3 a.m. was a bit trying sometimes.
Oh, that sounds like hell.
Yeah, as the cold climate person here, snow is not as magical as it. Yeah. I remember I was living in London, and it was the time that I realized that I needed to replace I was poor as hell. I was like, this is the point where you realize you need to replace your shoes. When I was walking to the tube station to work in the morning, and I sat down, I was like, my feet are soaking. I was like, why are my feet soaking wet? And there was a hole in my shoe, and the snow had just sort of crept in and then melted on the train. I was like, yeah, you need new shoes.
G wants to know what you just got off the shelf, Milne.
Yeah, the boss is watching. I love it. That's proper going around the grounds when the boss is watching what you pick off the office bar.
It's my brand and my budget, so
I'm just waiting for the response. Please hold.
So 1965 what, sorry?
So we've just got this old reserve stock that we're keeping for when the Queen visits, but I thought we'll just make sure it's appropriate, you know.
I am just on hot chocolate tonight. I had a few last night, so
Yeah, your tequilas, yeah.
yeah.
Well, I thought given we're blending, the idea of gin to whiskey and agave hasn't been produced, by Lisa yet. I thought I would try agave finished in Sazerac casks. So I've pulled out an Añejo tequila finished in George T. Stagg casks.
Does anyone around this table drink whiskey anymore?
There's a lineup of whiskey sitting here ready to drink. I'm just getting started on tequila
Does
first.
anyone on Whisky Roundtable drink whiskey? Really, this is a problem.
It's
I do. I've got something a little bit later. I don't know if I'm going to just tease it.
Lisa, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking a bottle I picked up in December when I was pretty lucky to go to the last region that I hadn't gone to in Scotland yet, which was Campbelltown. So I've got a Springbank Claret cask strength, which is not actually for sale.
From the cage.
So hold on.
From the cage.
Cage.
Are we counting the flexes here? When you say Campbelltown,
we just flex again?
And you
That's
bring
three.
up a handwritten white label, it's just
Three.
like it doesn't matter what it is. It's just going to be out of my availability to get access to.
Do you now see why? Do you now see why I have fangirled over her? For God knows how long.
Oh yeah. The feeling's mutual.
Yeah.
I think the flex that anyone brings out, and it's always just like, and I got this from the cage. And it's like, it's all you kind of need to say. It's like, this is a cage bottle. I've got a cage bottle for tonight. Like,
yeah.
Okay, nice.
And we encourage people watching at home. So before Bailey jumps in there, Prestige Liquors is cracking a Black Soul Beast, which is one of the original crafty bottlings. G's on. No, he's just doing the same thing. Springbank Model label. I'm pretty sure he doesn't have one. He's just lushing over your one. Bignell says the first snow is great. After that becomes a pain. I do agree wholeheartedly. I would even say the first bit is a pain as well. But
where's your sense of romance, Scotty?
Yeah,
it's great until you need to leave the house.
Watching shit out a window. I don't need to be in it.
I wouldn't shit out a window. I think that's probably.
And there's Matt Bailey awake again. What are you drinking, Matt?
I'm always awake. Don't worry about it. I'm drinking a real Scotty of a dram, actually. It's called Exuberant Bounty of Fruit, 64.114. The reason I call it a Scotty dram is A, it's a workhorse Diageo distillery, and B, it's like a 6th or 7th refill bourbon barrel. And so it's just like it's a proper refill 13-year-old bourbon hoggy at 56%, 13 years old. Good fun.
So you don't need to say 6th or 7th refill. You just need to say correct.
Correct. Yeah. Correct.
What was that barrel treatment? It was the correct treatment.
Correct.
Which actually leads on to a question I want to ask Lisa, because she's a little bit at the forefront. We speak a lot about Australian whiskey and where we're going and where we've come from this. And a lot of that is revolving around not only like production, but like access to barrels and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. So like Lisa, I know Archie Rose do obviously rye and single malt. And I know for a fact the best rye I've ever tried from Archie Rose is going to be released in a few weeks. And I'm very excited about that. But like in terms of what you're distilling now, which is what we're going to see in 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 20 years time, what barrels are we looking at? Where are you getting them from, and what does the world look like for Australian whiskey? Just like in 30 seconds or less.
I think that's the best thing about Australian whiskey is that we're not so defined by laws. So, our term of whiskey is that it's 2 years in wood. And so we can really take that and run with it. We're not so restricted by certain types or certain sizes even. So that really leaves a lot of Australian distillers, all Australians, to take that innovation and just run with it. And the Australian spirit really shows in the Australian spirit, because it's us having a good time, giving something a go and seeing if it's going to work. Because we don't really know, we don't have a massive tradition of certain casks working in a certain way. So we can play with different sizes, we can play with different types. And it's really what we can get our hands on over here. So, yeah, Andrew.
Sorry. I'm sorry. I'll let you finish, but I kind of
very Kanye opening there.
I was going to say, did he just Kanye her?
Yeah,
Did you just Kanye Lisa? What's going on here?
I'm going to let you finish, but
I'm going to let you finish.
It's all right. I haven't got children, so I can't talk about them. It's I love this talk about cask types and cask sizes, and I kind of always I always wonder why in Australia we use a lot of smaller casks, and it's very small casks quite often. And is it because we're still in that experimentation stage, and it's a case of this speeds up the process, and so we get an understanding quicker to understand whether it's worthwhile or not worthwhile. And then once we understand that, do we then expand out and go, okay, now let's move to 200s, 225s, and hoggies and whatnot? Is that the mindset from a distillery point of view, or is it a case of, actually I just need liquid quicker, and we need to get it out? Because I everything I have that I've tried that's been from a larger style cask, I prefer, because the whiskeys have more time. The whiskeys, I find it a bit more clean around the edges, whereas the fast rate of maturation in small casks, I find.
When does the Speyburn Ton edition come out exactly?
But I find small cask Australian whiskey a bit like Barossa Shiraz, where you do get some gems, but classically it's that I'm going to punch you in the face with everything I've got, and this is like bang, here it is. And it's
certainly twofold. It's amazing for experimentation, as you're saying, to really see how it does.
Is it Starwood twofold? Sorry, I apologise to everyone involved.
There it was.
I apologise. I'm going to leave now.
I would like to apologise reservedly to both Starwood and Lisa on this occasion. Okay.
Sorry, it was just there. I had to take it. Sorry, Lisa.
Please. Go on. Sorry.
No, please.
Well, it is. In the end of the day, it's still quite, we're such a young industry that, we don't have sort of stockpiles of whiskey to rely for those sales. So you do have to get a product on the shelf. It is quite expensive to produce something and leave it there for 2 years plus. So it is trying to find that balance of having whiskey that is tasting, it's a beautiful product that you're excited about for a shorter period of time versus when you can actually start to invest in long barrels. So I am a little bit biased. I do tend to prefer larger casks as well. It allows that whiskey to really mellow, settle, interact, to develop different flavors and allow those chemical changes to happen. But if you produce a distillery and only fill 200s, 100s, you're waiting a long time before you can produce something on the shelf, and you're going to go bust before you even sell anything. So it's about finding a balance of having all different types of casks.
And some distilleries, not just in Australia, but indeed around the world, have countered that, have sort of overcome that obstacle of cash flow, if you like, by producing quicker spirits, gins, vodkas, and whatnot, and white rums. And some have even, it doesn't happen too much in Australia, but some distilleries have used their wash to also produce a beer that they can package up. Like Eden Mill comes to mind, among others. I'm one of those people. I'm quite traditionalist when it comes to casks. I think that, not always. I don't care about cask treatment. Oh, come on. Cask.
I believe that all casks should be oak.
Well, even that. That's
not even then.
Yeah, not even then. So no red gum and no ash. But it's just, that's what I'm saying. There's I think following on from Andy's point, there's a lot of smaller casks which come through, which are. And you say it's a young industry, but I think I think Archie Rose especially has handled that very well, by having a tremendously good gin, and I'm sure the vodka's good as well. I wouldn't know, but and other things like that. So and projects and whatnot. It doesn't necessarily have to be sort of put stuff into hogsheads and see you in 8 years' time.
Yeah,
because that wouldn't work for anyone.
And I suppose a lot of the experimentation, when I first moved to Australia, I actually met up with Will, and just not for a job, but purely just to say, you're a person making whiskey. I love whiskey. Can you tell me what I should be doing and help me out and give me some advice? And he was really kind to have me over for a beer at the distillery and catch up and talk all things. And I remember he was saying, we're still playing. This was our old mash bill and this is our new mash bill, and we're sort of and that's a process that can't happen in a day, and so I completely understand how hard it must be. And it's I always talk back to wine quite a lot, and it's the same. You plant some vines, wait 5 years and work out whether it was actually worthwhile or not to make wine. And it's, you know, it's the same painful process in whiskey.
Probably a bit of a controversial opinion, but some of the older spirits, you know, so pre-60s, I don't really want to drink. They're not that great. It's because there wasn't a lot of knowledge. Like, yes, there was tradition, but from the last 20, 30 years, the amount of science that we've learned has improved spirit quality so much. And we now understand why we do things, not because we knew it kind of worked. So spirit quality is much better than anything that we've had in the last sort of a lot more tradition.
The whole process down of, like, we do this because of X, we do this because of Y, and you know, Scotland is a great example of we do this because we do this. The amount of,
we've done it that way.
Yeah, the amount of distillers, and Springbank is a prime example. I remember first asking them why they distilled 2.3 times or whatever it is, and the response was because we always have. And like, that's not, it's not the best answer, but you know, they did then follow it up and say we tried changing, and you know, we did mix it up, and it didn't work, so we didn't bother. And you're like, okay.
Well, it's not just, I mean, Springbank's a perfect example of that, but I'm also reminded of the Glenfarclas example where they changed the I think they changed the still shape, and
they went from direct fire to steam.
That's right. And then they realized that they worked on the steam fired one for what, a year and a half?
No, not even. It was a couple of months.
Oh, I thought it was much longer. Yeah, anyway, so you're right. Yeah, and it was still like it wasn't what they wanted, and so they had to go back to
Darwinian worm tubs.
Yeah.
I do like at Bunnahabhain where they polished the stills once, and the distillers claimed there was a different flavour, so they never had to clean them again.
We know why.
Very smart move.
Very smart move.
What I think I'm going to take out of this whole chat though tonight is that Lisa, you met with the people from Archie Rose, and you got a job there, and Milne went for a meeting with Will Edwards, founder of Archie Rose, and didn't get offered a job. That's what I'm going to take away from this.
That's what we can deduct from this. By the way, hello to Mark Westmoreland, who's tuned in, and Ty from Baxter Inn, and Tim Wilkins, and James Finnegan. Thank you.
To be fair to Will, he was probably making the right decision by not employing me.
I'd hire Lisa over you in a heartbeat. A couple of questions coming in from the Oak Barrel that I want to throw to you, Lisa, that people are asking directly. And a quick g'day to people who are sharing what they're drinking. Peter Bignell is drinking the TRB vatted malt, which is an all sherry cask, and it's the first vatted malt. I think that's all Tasmanian there. G is on a Bemore 15-year-old, the darkest, what used to be called the darkest, now called 15.
Great.
Someone called James McRae is on Eliza, Aisha Bay, something like that.
Yeah.
I think we like James McRae. I think he's a good bloke.
It's called Old Pulteney, I think.
Yeah.
It's a typo. It's very similar, but you know.
But there was a couple of, we were talking about cask and cask sizes. There was a couple of comments coming through with people, offering various things. But there was a couple of questions for Lisa that I want to sort of merge into one. One from Prestige Liquor and talking about like age and age statements on Archie Rose bottlings, and from G on terms of like bourbon barrels and casks. Small batches aside, Archie Rose, has a rye malt, which is now a core line. It's consistent, and we know there's a single malt that's the worst kept secret in the world. There will be a single. I don't know if you can talk about it.
You said it, not me. Okay?
Yeah. So but I know everyone who's done a tour at Archie Rose over the past 3 or 4 years has been told, and we're distilling single malt as well. It will come at some point. We don't know when that is, but it will come. But I assume there's going to be a core range single malt, so that needs consistency as well. So not just are you sourcing ex-bourbon casks, but in this current market, how are you sourcing consistency in casks? And like, is that part of the distiller's job, or like how where is that coming from? Can you give us a bit of insight into that on a distillery that's slightly a little bit bigger than some of the really small, we're going to release one single cask every year type distilleries?
There's millions of casks out there. We're very fortunate that you see some of these, especially photos, these casks just stacked up, just sitting in the cooperage, ready to go. So it's about really, finding what you want, sourcing the ones that you want. You don't always have to look for bourbon. That's all I think. But there's a lot of casks out there, and it is such a, we couldn't, Scotch couldn't survive without bourbon, vice versa. So, especially in Australia, we're so fortunate with wine. it's all about sort of having that interchange of casks. And, you know, yes, people do hold on to those casks for a long time, but you also still exchange them. So it's sort of a revolving economy.
Yeah.
So it's just really about finding them.
And again, I'm not a distiller. I've never worked at a distillery. So you are a distiller. You work at the still. You know, press on and off, and you measure temperatures and clean and all that sort of stuff. Like, is the whiskey that we see, like the Archie Rose rye malt, you know, just talking specifically about whiskey at the moment, the rye malt, like how much thought goes in from your point of view, because I know rye malt's a Solera system at the moment. Is there a separate team that does the blending, putting that together? Is that also part of the distilling team? Are those roles separate, or?
There's a very small team of producers at Archie Rose. So we do sort of all kind of, you know, take a lot of, everyone sort of wears many hats. You know, you do distill, you do look after barrels, you do kind of take on a lot of different responsibilities. So it is sort of a teamwork that we share. I do have to throw out that, you know, Dave Withers, as our master distiller, he does take up most of that blending. That is his sort of baby at the moment. So I know for myself, after about 30 whiskeys, I can no longer smell a thing. So it's incredible that he can go through so many a day and put together his marriage of what he would like to produce.
Yeah, and you know, I don't want to put you on the spot for anything like that, because we know that there are some very exciting things coming from Archie Rose, and we know because Archie Rose always has exciting things coming, and you know, and we don't know, and I don't want to like trick you into like having to you know, give away anything that you probably shouldn't do. But I mean, for you to say that is quite, you know, not alarming, but like quite spectacular for me, because I've been with you at certain distilleries in Tasmania, where we've even walked into a distillery and your nose, I remember a time with James and Kathleen, and you've just gone, I'm picking up all these sort of things, and I'm just like, I've just walked into a room. That's all that's happened here. But like for me, your nose is unbelievably, you know, adept at picking out little nuances, even walking into the, you know, a distillery. So I think that's quite remarkable.
Thank you.
Well, it's meant as a compliment, so take it how you will. But it's meant as a compliment.
You're saying I'm sensitive.
Well, to be fair, no one's ever said I'm sensitive, so
I have. Just for the record.
Only in certain parts.
Just off that point of the single malt, just as a very, very mild plug, if anyone wants to actually preview that Archie Rose single malt, you can preview it at our sessions on August 21st with SMWS and Archie Rose on the 21st of August coming up at the Distillery in Rosebery, which would be great. We're doing that session in the Distillery. It's a members only event, but just if anyone wants to try that single malt before anyone else does, you're welcome to come along.
And like I probably at this point in time, I've been alluding to it, and I know the other three members of the round table sort of knew about it, and I'm sure Lisa, you knew about this as well. But we're very, very lucky at the Oak Barrel to not only be bottling a single cask of the rye malt at cask strength, but also, you know, hopefully running a couple of tastings. We've done 2 months worth of planning and of this, and I say without a word of a lie, it is the best whiskey I've ever tried from Archie Rose. And I've been lucky enough to try a lot of whiskeys in various shapes and forms, but that rye malt is unbelievable. And I've actually got a little bit for the round table at some point to dish out, because it's unbelievable. It's at work, and I'm obviously not at work, but it's unbelievably good.
Who do you think decants it?
Sorry?
Who do you think decants it? I'm right here.
Was it you that chose it? Because
I can't claim that one.
Because you know you can
blame Withers. Probably just blame it on Withers. That's the easiest thing to do in every.
Well, I'm going to throw like praise at them, because you know Archie Rose has the tailored series. So, and I've gone in and I've made a tailored gin with Archie Rose for the Oak Barrel in the past. But at this point, they were like, "Do you want to like have any insight into the whiskey?" I was like, "No, I know how to make whiskey. You guys choose something, and I'll pay for it, and then I'll get excited about it." And then when it landed and we tried it with Daniel Hutchins Reid, friend of the stream, and just went, holy shit. It was like, it is unbelievably good. But I guess that sort of leads me to a question, Lisa. You know, Archie Rose does a lot of things. In your mind, is there much of a switch when you need to work on distilling rye to distilling barley to making a gin to, we know there's rum casks there and all sorts of weird shit that Archie Rose does. Like, how do you as a distiller react to those different, approaches and those different ingredients?
I know it's been said in the past that distilling is repetitive, and I will not disagree with that. But that's one of the elements that I find the most exciting, that I find is actually enough variables within my day-to-day work that keeps me engaged. So it is not having things so set in your day routine that you have to really act as you go and make decisions as you go and on so many different things when you are producing different botanicals in a gin versus whiskey or rye, or even different types of barley, as you mentioned. So you can never really go in with just one day in mind, be like, oh, I'm just going to do X and go. You have to react as you go every day, which is what keeps it exciting for me and keeps me interested in loving my day-to-day job.
What's the favorite part of your day? Not going home. Don't say going home.
I was going to say showering. Do you know how dirty you get at a distillery? Oh, it's like a festival shower every day. It's so satisfying.
Festival shower.
A proper chem bath after each shift.
Surely there's an on-site shower.
I mean,
a
hose, right?
I've hit a nerve there.
It's like, do you wash in the office? Do you wash in the oak barrel showers, or do you go home and have a shower?
There is an oak barrel shower.
There is.
There is one in the lads' loo, but you tend to leave all your clothes on and just put it on and and no hot water, just cold water, just to wake up again, turn it off, shake it off a bit, get back out to work.
And that's just his lunch break.
The customer is king.
That's very true.
Okay, so
I don't know why everyone's laughing at that. That's true.
The final answer is your favorite thing about what you do every day is a shower after work.
No, my favorite thing is because there's so much every day. Like, I don't have a day that's ever the same. So you can't really pick one because there's so many different parts.
Okay.
On that theme, like, and sort of building on the question I asked at the very start about, you were where a lot of us are in right now, and a lot of people watching right now, you were, writing these menus at a restaurant and say, I want to make this, I want to be involved in this. And you've done it now, and you've done that whole thing. Looking back, what is the most satisfying thing for you as a distiller, having gone through that journey and sort of, reached that point where you've made a lot of things in a lot of different places?
As Andrew said before, I don't have kids, but I imagine it's what having kids is like. You're so excited, you're so passionate, like, I made this. Love it. And it does bring joy to so many people. And there's been times that I've been sitting at a bar in Belfast and on the shelf, I'm like, I made that, versus Sydney or Tassie or anywhere in the world, and you're like, I can't believe that something that I've made can bring joy to so many people, and it's everywhere. There's no real limit to it. So that's what I love. I love being able to share that and just make something that makes me proud and share that with other people.
And just on that, when you are sitting at Baxter's and you see 3 products on the back bar that you've made, how many decibels higher does your voice go when you say, I made 3 of those whiskies?
No, it's real quiet. I lean in and I'm like, yeah, I made those.
Sorry, so you whispered to Alex, so Alex can tell you.
And then the flick.
I'm the one that was sitting there screaming, going, oh my God. She just said it very quietly, and I was
Get
like,
a couple more in, it'll be fine.
But it's like, it's pretty rare and incredible to like take stock of what you do as a job and be like, I did that. I envy it, because like I used to run events, and even with most of the events, like, I rarely stood back and went, this is me, I did this, like, it was, I never really sort of, on a few occasions I got that sort of moment of kind of take stock and actually sort of be like, wow. But for the vast majority of the time, you kind of just, you do stuff and you just continuously do what you got to do. And then, at some point, and there's probably been about 6 moments in my career where I've been able to sort of take a step back and look at it and go, wow, like, you achieved that, pat on your back kind of thing. It must be incredible to like regularly go in. Like,
well, really, you can go to
just go to a bar and be like, yep, that's me.
But even to hold it in your hand and like the amount of hard work and effort and time and passion that has gone into this, and to physically hold it, because when I was in Edinburgh, as well as doing a lot of side projects, my main goal, my main sort of job was I was a visitor experience manager. So I was a tour guide, again, doing everything and anything you can to get yourself in the distillery. And, you know, for a year, I didn't have anything to quantify the work that I was doing. Yes, I did read TripAdvisor religiously. But you ready for the fourth flex is coming up. I managed to win Best Visitor Experience in East Lothian. I beat a castle, I beat a hill, beat all these things. East Scotland, I was the best thing to visit then that year. And it was the only time that I was just like, yes, I could actually hold this in my hand and be like, I did this.
How often do you get to say,
I beat a castle on a t-shirt, please?
I beat a castle.
I'll pay for that. Done. Sorted.
Lisa, it's actually, there's not too uncommon a path in some ways, but it's a very exciting one. It's like, I find in whiskey in general, in spirits in general, no one goes from being interested in that subject to being a master distiller in something or anything. It's like, you just, for some reason, you reminded me of Kirsten Laurie over at Sullivan's, who, you know, like she was Kalila Visitor Center, doing tours at Kalila. And then, and now she's like, is it head distiller at Sullivan's or is she assistant distiller? No, I think she's head of production.
Yeah, something along those lines.
That's very
I
cool.
should know this. This is terrible. She's a very good friend of mine.
No, but like, I think she's head of production now at Sullivan's, and I was like, that's very cool. And then she was, you know, was behind the bar for a while at Lark, and anyway, I love that kind of stories. But yeah,
that actually leads into one of the questions that I have. So apart from being like a tour guide to get into distilling, did you do a degree, or did you just literally get in, work your way up, and go pick me? How did it happen for you?
I think I don't know if lucky is the right word, but I was definitely sort of just a bit of ahead of the curve, where before it really kind of exploded into this really popular industry that a lot of people wanted to get in. That's why I came in when it was only starting to sort of build the speed that it is at now. So for me, it's always been much on-the-job training or learning from experience. And that's also how I learn as well. I struggle on a sort of screen learning information process. So for me, it's to really get my hands involved, and that's how I'll learn. And I guess it's really how you learn, which is the best path to take. There are a few degrees that are coming out now. They can be a little bit pricey, so it depends on how you want to learn, what opportunities you can get, because not everyone is lucky enough to be able to move to Scotland and work there. You know, it's a pretty lucky experience that I managed to get.
And I suppose that the qualification is useless unless you're doing the job. I went through WSET working through wine, and the reason it was so much easier than half the people in my class is because I was doing it as a job and tasting wine every day and being surrounded by it. So it's easy to do your research because your research is your job, and it makes life easier. And then before I moved here, I did a marketing course, and it was the hardest thing I've probably ever had to do in terms of a qualification, because I wasn't doing it as a job. You know, I had no kind of tangible sort of, you know, oh yeah, this is the paper way to do it and the academic way to do it, but this is actually how we do it in real life. And everyone on my course was doing it in real life, and I was like, this makes no sense. And the continuously, I was like, I don't get it, and I don't understand the practicalities of it. And I'm the same as you. I learn on a roll, and it's I have so much respect for the people that do that course that aren't distillers already, because I'm just like, how the hell do you process that amount of scientific information that is just like straight over me?
Very much research that I don't keep that in my head, but I know where to find the information if I need it.
Yeah. So I don't know to pass the test, but I can read the book that tells me.
I can problem solve whatever I need, but I mean, there's so many different ways. I've managed to get to where I am without a degree, and I can't say if it would be easier or not if I had one or not. But you know, for me as well, like it took me 5 months to get a job in Scotland. It wasn't easy. It was me daily emails, knocking on doors.
Yeah,
it's about really persistent. Nasty. Persistence, as my dad always says.
Just a quick comment on that, because we're in the terms of like the modern craft distilling world, we're talking like post early 90s. we don't have a lot of distilling knowledge in Australia. But one thing whatever you think about this distillery, I love what they've done is the lark pathway from their cellar door. If you work at the cellar door, you're interested, you can get to run tours at the distillery. And a lot of people who have worked at the distillery running tours or distilling, or then moved on to other distilleries, it's one of the very few pathways in Australia for people who are interested in distilling that can do it just without any knowledge and without, any financial backing that you got to pay for a $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 course, whatever. So that's something I always love about the Lark Distillery and their setup, is that sort of pathway, because there's not very many in Australia.
And that's why there's not any really sort of traditional pathways to go. It's not like if you get a degree, you'll get a job, you'll be sorted. There's so many different routes that you can go. And as you said, Lark has encouraged a lot of people to move on to production. It does allow people. I think that's the lucky thing, that you can try so many different places.
There's even in traditional whiskey making countries, there isn't that. There's very few. You go back to the old distillers, and the distillery managers now will always say, I started, on the floor, and then I worked my way through and done that. But most distilleries now are they're picking up people and going, all right, well, you've got your degree, so in you come, and now you do this. And this idea that you'll be a maltman, a mashman, a stillman, and then you work, it just, I feel like the vast majority of distilleries, that doesn't exist certainly in Scotland, certainly from the States, from what I'm hearing, there's not that many that are doing it. They want you to come in with that qualification. So
sometimes I was chatting to the head cooper of a tiny site called Girvan, probably never heard of it. And he had been the head cooper there for 41 years. And he was an amazing guy. He's like, these young starts coming with their degree, try and tell me what I do.
I love Girvan. Girvan makes excellent whiskey. Single grain is the future. When is the Archie Rose single grain happening? I'll buy the first 5 casks. I'm all on board.
By the way, Lisa, there's a comment here on the society page that says, Lisa Truscott, you rock. Such an asset at Archie Rose, and that's from Amanda Jennings. So,
marketing coming in great. I'll take it.
And Daniel on the Oak Barrel page, who I know Daniel is part of the Dubbo crew. Everything I've had from Archie, or Current Whiskey, has been great. Can't wait for what's happening next. He might have also mentioned the single malt release in that, which we don't officially know, but everyone who's done a tour in the past few years knows that you're making single malt. So that's all right.
I've got one last question. I have quite a few of my team that are super into wanting to be a distiller. What is your advice for them? Because it seems like you've really pushed in and hard to get where you are. What's your advice?
Don't do it. Wait, no, what's the real advice?
No, don't say that.
Okay, no, what's the real answer? Sorry. No.
This is a long debate with us. None of these boys want to get into distilling. I'm obsessed with it. Probably why I'd like my obsession with you. But I love it. And none of those boys are just happy to drink it. Whereas I would love to be able to make it.
Because that looks hard.
So please give us your advice.
I don't want to shower at the end of every day. Come on.
Clearly none of these boys have had
I've emptied my glass, so I'm just gonna pour myself another dram. Gotta
and also
should we talk about your other half as well?
I think we should.
Yeah, he has enough airtime. It's fine.
I quite like him though. I was looking forward to saying good day tonight.
My barber we clearly share the same barber, and I was chatting as we were talking, and he's like, "Oh, is you working whiskey?" I was like, "Yeah, working whiskey." He's like, "Oh, I had this other guy. I think he was Scottish guy, and he works in whiskey as well." And I was like, "Oh yeah," and he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Short, kind of husky." I was like, "James." He's like, "Yeah, that's the one." I was like, "Yeah."
Every time I'm at Baxter's, and this is going on, pre-COVID, post-COVID, and I'm sitting there and I'm looking pretty good, and people around who we might be interested in or not interested, it doesn't matter, but just Scotty's looking pretty good at the moment, and then James come over and talks, and he's like, "Fuck it, all right, I'm sorry." He's too good.
All
So
right,
back to
the date then.
So back to the advice for distillers, well, budding distillers.
What I always say, because I always try to be as helpful as I can. So anyone that asks me advice, I've always been really fortunate to have people look after me in the past. I want to help as much as I can. And it's really do anything. You're not good enough for anything. So I do that, clean toilets, I'll give tours, I'll look after your dog. Did that for a while. Do anything you can, get your foot in the door, show that you're passionate, show that you're interested, and those doors will open. You've got to make sure that you're ready for it and you're going to work hard for it. And it's a hard journey, but at the end of the day, it's worth it.
I think we can also relate to that, actually. I mean,
truer words have never been spoken.
Yeah.
Like I know how hard you've worked, and we were like, admittedly, we're putting you up on a pedestal because you deserve it and you're excellent. And we all want to, like, this is just an exercise in us remaining friends with you because you like can trot on us little people moving forward. But we all know how hard it was, and you've worked in so many places around the world. And I don't think there's many people in Australia who have worked in as many regions or states or whatever you want to call them in a whiskey term as you have. Like I'm maybe counting one other potentially that has done that.
I'll fight him. We'll see.
It's also
no one then. Yeah, you own it. Yes, just yours.
I mean, on that note, though, I'm very, I'm so glad that I can actually take this job and travel. It's not, it's not the days where you worked at that distillery for 60 years and you lived and died there. I have been so fortunate to travel so much in the world with this career. There's so many more places that you can do and you can see. It's not so much localized to a cold climate anymore. I can be warm.
No 11 blankets and frost and holes in shoes anymore.
Please don't remind me.
I think it's the marker.
Sorry, go on. No, you go.
No.
It's the marker of a great employer that nothing is too hard and nothing is too difficult. I think it's as people go through their career, there's you have two types of people. One person that turns around and goes, I know I'm above that now because I've got to this point and I'm not going to do this, and there's the people that turn around and go, no, I'll still be here at 2 a.m. shoveling shit and doing what's needed. And it's the people that through history you always end up admiring and loving for what they do. is exactly that.
This is the housemate I warned you about an hour ago. She was going to come home at some point, and reality TV is going to go on that TV very soon. So,
yeah,
well, it's okay. We're an hour in. We haven't got too much longer.
I like that. Yes, it is. No.
Yes, it is. Yeah. All right. We have favorite questions that we ask. What's your desert island dram, Lisa?
I am very partial to Bowmore. It's my number one for so many times. It's such an underrated whiskey.
Yeah.
When I loved it, when I discovered how much I loved it, I was so hungover on Bowmore Pier. It was like Canavine brew and a sausage roll, being like, I don't want to go on this tour at 9 a.m. I regret so much. And I got to the end of the tour, like going through all the smells, like the heat, all these things from Distilling. Got to the end, and I was like, oh, this is really good. I will drink this. I'll drink it any time of day.
How many flexes are we up to now? It was like I was hungover, but I was on Bamore Pier. We're going to be in double figures for the flexes.
There's a photo of me looking up, being like, if you take that photo.
Bamore was one of my absolute favorites when I was on Isla. Like, it's. I've always loved the whiskey. But you have your big boys on the island and the ones that make quite an impact here in Australia. And then I left Bamore just going, this is actually my favorite distillery I've been to on Isla. It was so amazing.
Yes. Wonderful experiences.
I have huge fanboy love for that place. It's it's one of my favorite distilleries. It's where I first met Dan Woolley. I was with David Turner, who's just like, you should meet this guy. I hadn't told anyone at this point that I was thinking of moving to Australia. It was really weird that the person that he thought I should meet, and probably he knew that I'd just married an Australian, but it was quite strange that he was like, you should meet this guy. And I was like, this is a useful person to know.
There's a game that James and I play when we meet new people, is you rank your Isla distilleries 1 to 9. And that's how we, I'm not going to say judge, 'cause that's way too harsh, but then like that discussion lasts for a long time.
That's a tough one.
I think we just got a whole new roundtable out of that game.
We need to get someone from every single Isla distillery to fight for their brand.
Can I just say, I've spent 2 days, 48 hours drinking nothing but gin and being very critical on gin, and had some excellent gin and some pretty bloody average gin.
You critical, Scotty? Never.
Nah.
But I've just poured myself, when you said like Isla, I was my secret dram tonight. Fuck me, whiskey's pretty good. Like, that gin shit is okay, but like barley, yeast, water into oak it's not bad. It's like, it's like trying whiskey for the first time. I'm gonna not shit you at all. It's fucking, this is the greatest whiskey I've ever had. Just like cut through that juniper bubble.
That's Archie Rose, right?
No, unfortunately, it's a 25-year-old undisclosed Isla, which
But
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think I got something similar.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is Ardbeg, by the way.
I think Kalila does the same. Like Kalila's the one that I think is the quiet, overachieving child that just sort of sits there, gets 100 points, but doesn't tell anyone that they've done it. And it's that distillery that I think what Kalila releases is pretty good. Like there's nothing bad about it. You can't fault it.
It's excellent. A lot of Kalila
I've
releases.
got a question for you guys though. Throwing it back on as what you were saying about Kalila. What is your underrated whiskey?
Underrated distillery or whiskey, or sorry, which?
Oh, well, either or. Underrated distillery.
Who's starting?
I have 2. So
I've already got mine.
I've got 2 as well. I'll start. You know what? I'm going to go with my 2 underrated distilleries are Loch Lomond. Because I think the diversity and weirdness of what comes out of that distillery is often overlooked through bad packaging decisions. And my second,
overlooked by packaging decisions. What a line!
And I think the second underrated distillery out there has to be Speyburn. Hey-o! It is. That's not my real answer, but that's what I'm going with. So there you go.
Incorrect.
It is your real answer. How dare you? How dare you?
Them's fighting.
Fetacan. And in particular, the Fior, which I don't know if they make anymore, but we used to bring a little bit in. And Fetacan is so, like, when it's young, it's harsh and it's a bit aggressive and it's got all those negative notes, but it mellows out with old age. But what I loved about the Fior, I think it was 40%-ish of peated stock, and it didn't mellow out the aggressiveness of their spirit. It just sort of added to, it was like, yeah, it's aggressive. The bottle was stupid. The name was stupid. The marketing was stupid.
Well, I mean, if you pronounce it right, it's Fetacan.
Fetacan. Fuck yourself.
Don't criticize the name if you can't say it correctly.
But I loved.
Accidentally disconnected. Sorry, what was that?
but I thought that whiskey was like a really smart NAS, and it was aggressive, and it was fun, and it was good.
I'm going to bring in. I've got a Fetacan single cask just landed, Scotty. I'll bring one in for you.
Sign me up.
Done.
Alex, what are you thinking?
Jack Daniels. No.
Underrated.
So underrated.
Everyone loves Jack Daniels.
Underrated. Come on.
No one's
I always get shit for drinking it.
No, well, yeah, that's fair enough. But like underrated.
You can't put them as underrated. Yeah.
Like if you drink 10 bottles in a night, we're going to ask questions. But just like 1 bottle a night, you'll be fine.
McMira, is it McMira?
McMira, yeah.
I absolutely love what they're doing, and I wish we could get a hell of a lot more out of them. I know this might be controversial, but I have a love for Catalan, and I don't think a lot of it doesn't get a lot of love out here either.
Do you
I
think?
don't think. No.
Well, especially not for the their main range. I mean, their soloists get a bit of sort of, and their single
Yeah.
casks and stuff.
Just
Get,
But the rest,
The top end is very popular, but I honestly can sell more through $100 Kavalan than I can $100 Kavalan. No one is interested in Concert Master and all that sort of stuff.
No.
Podium is the other one, I think it's called.
Podium, yeah.
There's even been 2 or 3 others in that cheaper range that hasn't been.
Yeah, so you got King Car Classic, which is actually delicious.
There's a King Car Port as well or something.
King Car Port, yeah. I used to work for the distributors in the UK. It's beautiful. Like, it's a great range.
And Lisa?
I have been loving Manic more. I can't get enough.
What a distillery.
What a distillery.
So good.
Thanks, I'll save a bit of the you then. Done.
I have, when I was at Dram Fest, because I didn't go this year, but 2 years ago, one of the greatest Manic Malls I've ever tried was Society Bottling, and I wasn't able to buy it because I'm not a New Zealand member, I'm only an Australian member. Then I spent a lot of money at Whiskey Galore, and Fraser Milne sort of went, oh man, I can probably let one go if you want. So I have one of the greatest Manic Malls ever, which it's still sitting somewhere, not here.
Does that count as a Scotty Flex then?
No, you're coming round. You're coming round to try that one.
And that's at work, is it?
No, it's at in
Winton.
out west. Yeah, out west.
Okay,
Winterfield, centre of the universe.
I
Milne?
happily accept.
Yeah, Milne.
I have 2. Balmanac.
Wasn't a hard question, mate. Just one.
Great distillery. Great distillery.
Yeah, Balmanac. And I think I've tried some bad Balmanacs without a doubt, but when
Really?
Balmanac, I've had 1 or 2 a G&M one.
Don't bite the bait. Come on, Andy. Don't bite that bait. Just look at that shit-eating grin.
Signatory and Hidden Spirits have done an amazing, selection of bottlings from it, and it's delicious whiskey.
Yeah.
And Glentockers is another secret workhorse. Just
I find I'm always it's so hard to get excited by Glentock because it always tastes like hot tin to me. But
there's a few like Glentockers and Glenkeith is the other one.
Yeah,
I just think it's just it just
Mm-hmm.
delivers, and it's that silent kind of like, oh yeah, we're here for the blends, but it's so not like. I think those distilleries that the Pernod distilleries that are there for blending, my God, like they're
unbelievable
in their own right.
You could say the same about Longmorn. Longmorn's still a blenders distillery. It's not really there's not really a core range. I mean,
but I think the core
there is just not pushed in Australia.
Yeah, and I think the core range kind of almost doesn't show the best of what they do. It's like the frustrating thing of
homogenization. Yes.
Yeah, you've got this great liquid, and then you bottle this, and you're like, and it's not to say that Longmorn is not bad. It just for what it can be, it's so frustrating that indie Longmorn is delicious, and OB Longmorn is like it's pretty good.
Yeah,
but there's other stuff out there that's far superior. It's just like, why are you not bottling this yourself?
Yeah.
I have one last question for Lisa because I think we need to wrap it up soon. I'm not sure. As I've said many times in this live, I fangirl the hell out of you. Tell me who do you fangirl or look up to in this industry?
It's really incredible of how many people that I get to associate with, and I think there's a lot of people that we sort of help each other. And so, I mean, there's so many people out there that, have achieved so much, but, a lot of my friends in Tassie or in the UK that there's a lot of times that we reach out to each other, and there's times where we sort of help each other grow. So it's really an industry that I find a lot of mutual respect and a lot of love, because a lot of us like and even things are just like, oh, I've got this problem, like how do I clean X? It's not even the most deep and meaningful thing, but I've never had anyone come back from negativity or anything. But the person I do have to shout out the most is Kathleen Davies, so Ignited Courage. Everyone's quite aware of. She's been the one from the start that's always been the most encouraging, most positive. The one that I've always come to with questions, being like, oh, I'm struggling with X, Y, and Z. She's always the one that encouraged me the most. And she's probably the person that, the reason why I want to help people so much, because she has helped me from the start. So she's definitely someone that has been a huge influence in my life. And definitely, if you don't know her, shame on you, but she's the person that has, I think, really helped the Australian industry more than anyone else that I could say. It's probably a huge call, but I'll stand by it.
Very much in agreement there.
Yeah, and when we like that comment of if you don't know her, because there's going to be a few people who are watching the stream who don't know her because she sits behind the scenes and she lets the distilleries do the talking. And in what we're doing, and we've spoken about this before on the Sydney Whisky Forum, a lot of that is based around help of the Nipper Courage warehouse, and their staff packing miniature bottles up and into packs for us for that. So I would agree with that wholeheartedly from all walks of life.
If there's someone that has worked the hardest in the booze industry in Australia, it's definitely Kathleen.
Yeah.
And what she's done to break barriers, whether it's in her previous career of beer and into spirits now, I can't think of anyone that's really broken those ceilings and rather than sort of hinder people below her, helped them up. And she's spoken herself about this, and she's like, I don't want to be the person. She had some pretty negative experiences in sort of, beer industry previously. She's like, I don't want to be that person. And that is what inspires me the most, really.
Wonderful.
That's to Kath, yeah. I'll clap to Kath.
Yeah,
Kath. So shots for Kath?
Shots for Kath.
I'm out.
Už bara Agus Fee and Dergler,
and all that.
Come on. That's
basic.
That's basic Irish. You should all know that.
Wait.
You should all know that. It's not even Latin. It's just basic Irish.
Well, thank you, Lisa. Sanjava.
Oh, thanks for having me.
It's been a pleasure.
Wait. For the first time, I think we have never gone round the tables and said, what is everyone drinking? We know that Lisa's been drinking Elsa Bay, but outside of that, what have you all been drinking?
Well, we did it. We did it a couple of times.
We did. We did at the start. That's right.
Yeah. Where were you?
Yeah.
We talked gin and tequila at that point. I mean, we didn't talk whiskey. So,
well, I was drinking whiskey, unlike the rest of you on Whisky Roundtable. So
Hey, Matt, here's you.
I'm drinking 25-year-old RD.
Come on, and cheers.
I'll be back in fine form next week, I promise.
No hot chocolate next week.
Thank you, everyone, and it's been a pleasure, Lisa. It's always a pleasure to chat to you, whether in virtual worlds or in physical worlds. And I look forward to the next time I can actually see you in the flesh. But as I said at the start, out of all your skills, and I thought you couldn't get any better up until early this year when I realized what a weapon you are on the dance floor. So
is that a challenge that I'm hearing? A dance floor?
No, because I lost the last one so definitively.
No, we can't dance right now anyway.
Dancing is currently.
You can if you're in a chair, you can dance.
No,
so you got to perfect the legs and
I see people on an actual dance floor with chairs their ass. So
I was at Frankie's the other night, Saturday night after work with my team, and it was just not the same. We're all sitting down, we're all behaving. Has anyone ever sat down during?
I'm not going back to Frankie's yet because
ever sat down during Pour Some Sugar on Me?
No,
I never sat down.
And that's why I'm not being back to Frankie's. It doesn't feel right.
Like the water comes down, then you're sitting normally, right?
Is it? No, that's Flashdance. We're currently living Footloose right now.
So anyone who's watching
Who
right
wants
now,
to be Kevin Bacon though, right? That's the question.
when we take this stream offline, this is what normally happens. So you'll get a window into the after party right now.
I just brought it in a little bit too early tonight. I'll save it for later.
All right.
Thank you, everyone. And thank you to... I want to say, a quick shout to G, Peter, Sam Stefani, who is also an excellent dancer. who've also given like shout outs to Kathleen, to G, and to James McRae, who might be the worst half of Lisa Truscott, but also an excellent bloke in his own right. Thank you to everyone, and everyone on the Society stream. I know I've been slowly watching that one as well.
It's all good.
Bowie's meant to be on top of that, but whatever.
All good.
Really.
Thanks, folks.
Have a great week,
Cheers, guys.
everyone. Thank you.